Before he could give Snick a warning, the meat disappeared under his jacket. The woman stared after them for a moment when her mouth opened, then swiftly turned and vanished. "Quick, baby! The woman saw you swing!" Teddy yelled. The women shoppers in the aisle glanced up at them. Surprise spread across their faces as they watched the two young men break and run. Teddy reached the rail and went under it quickly, Snake one step behind him, stepping on his heels. Before the alarm was given, they were out of the supermarket and running for the car. Red and Tim, already at the car, saw them coming. They jumped in, and before the runners could reach the car, the motor was humming. Both men jumped to the back and hugged the floor. Red pressed down on the gas and raced for the nearest exit. In his rearview mirror, he saw two men run out of the store and look up and down, but they hadn't seen which way the thieves had gone. A woman standing on the sidewalk pointed at the speeding car, but it was much too late. In a matter of minutes, they were on the freeway, heading back to the heart of the city. Again, their wild laughter filled the car. It hadn't even been close. To them, it was all in a day's work. In the run of a month, they had had many experiences like this. In another month, they would be back in the same store, trying their luck again. "Which way should we go?" Red asked sharply, watching his rearview mirror. "I doubt if they had enough time to make it to a phone, but ain't no sense taking any chances." "Get up off the expressway, baby," Snick ordered. "Then find the quickest route to get us to the east side." They made it across town and stopped at the record shop. Snick and Teddy went in and sold the albums. Next, they stopped off and sold the meat and stockings, letting the women's nylons go for less than half price. They had made off with over 50 prime steaks altogether. The money off the meat alone was over $100. For the albums, they settled on $75, and for the stockings, they got $25. After taking out for the gas and wine, they still cleared over $200 for a little over an hour's work. Snake stopped at a dope house on the east side. All of them chipped in $25 apiece. He was gone about 10 minutes before he returned with another man. They climbed in the car. "He ain't got nothing but pills," Snake responded to their unspoken question, "so I didn't cop none." He nodded towards the man who had gotten in the car with him. "Lee here says he knows where to cop the bomb at. We can get a half a piece of stuff for $100. All of the men in the car stared closely at the new man. They had hassled too hard to allow another addict to come along and burn them for their money. Tiny Tim said what they were all thinking. "Man, I wouldn't allow Lee to look at my money too long, let alone take it somewhere and cop. He ain't about to leave me sitting out in front of some apartment building while he runs out the back door with all my bread in his pocket." "Ain't that the truth?" Red muttered. "I wouldn't trust Lee in a shithouse with a muzzle on." Lee was a short, balding man, turning to fat in his late 20s. He listened to them without any apparent concern. What they had said was just about true. No matter how close friends they might be, $100 would be a lot of temptation. "What's the matter with you? You think I'm a fool or something?" Snick asked hotly. "Whenever my money goes out of sight, I'm going with it." Teddy spoke up. "What's Lee gonna get out of it, since he's so willing to take us to cop?" "Nothing," Snick replied bluntly. "All he wants for me to do is take him by his wife's house so he can pick up his TV to pawn." He didn't wait for any replies, but started the car and pulled away from the curb. "Man, I'm sick," Red exclaimed loudly. "I thought we were going to cop some stuff, and now here we are running all over town." "I ain't but a couple of blocks away," Lee said. "What I need is some help lifting the damn thing, 'cause it's a flow model." Lee pointed out the directions, and in a few minutes they pulled up in front of a small frame house. Lee got out, with Snick following him. They went up the front steps, and Lee walked in without knocking. In the front room, 5 little children were sitting on the floor watching cartoons on television. Without bothering to speak, Lee unplugged the TV set and began winding up the cord. The children let out a yell, and their mother came running in from the kitchen. She stopped at the sight of the 2 men and put her hands on her hips. She was a tall, very light-skinned woman, thin to the point of being frail, with freckles covering her nose. Her large bosom heaved up and down with controlled wrath. Her eyes narrowed, glittering with disgust. You done took everything else out of the house to sell, you low-down bastard. So now you done decided to take the only thing the children got they can enjoy. She sat down and put her arms around two of the children. Don't you worry. And quit that crying. She pulled the children closer in an attempt to stop their tears. Just get out, Lee. If you don't never come back, we can consider ourselves lucky. Snake picked up his end of the television. He was in a hurry to get away with it. He hated to see children cry, but the $10 he was getting for helping smoothed over his small concern. They carried the floor model television out to the car. The sound of the kids crying followed them outside. The set was so large, they had to put it in the trunk of the car and leave part of it hanging out. The rest of the men grumbled until they reached the pawn shop. They worried over the possibility of the police stopping them. If a police car should happen to pass them and see the TV, it was an automatic search. They didn't stop talking about it until after they had pawned it and reached the dope house. Snake went in with Lee, and when he returned, he stared up and down the street closely before walking to the car. From his behavior, the men in the car knew he had reached the man and made a score. 8. The rain was still falling in an infernal downpour. Terry tossed the magazine down on the couch and got up. She paced up and down, wondering where she could put her hands on $10. She sniffed suddenly. Her nose was leaking again. God damn it, she cursed quietly. I've got to have $10. She quickly rejected the idea of trying to borrow it from her mother. That's out, she muttered, and ran up the steps. The sound of her father's loud snoring came to her, and she hesitated outside his room. She fought down the temptation to slip into his room and try to remove $10 from his pocket. Suddenly, a new idea popped into her head. She rushed over to her dresser and searched wildly until she found her address book. She flipped the pages until she found what she was looking for. Holding the page open with one finger, she quickly dialed the number. Hello? She said as soon as the receiver on the other end was picked up. Could I speak to Billy? She asked, annoyed by the sound of a feminine voice on the other end of the line. I'm sorry, but he's in school. Could I take a message? The voice was kind and pleasing. Terry slammed the phone down, not bothering to answer. She stretched out on the bed, fighting back the tears. Tears won't help you now, girl, a small voice inside her warned. She twisted over on the bed. A hot flash ran through her, followed quickly by sweat running down her armpits. She rolled over on the bed, her legs beginning to feel stiff and heavy. What am I going to do? She cried silently into the pillow. She sat up quickly as cold chills shot through her body. She stared at the tiny portable radio sitting on her dresser. It's useless, she told herself miserably. It didn't cost over $10 when it was new. Terry jumped up and ran to the window and stared out, her mind racing frantically. She trembled from a chill and hugged herself tightly. She retraced her steps and snatched up the phone. She dialed a number, tapping her foot impatiently. Porky! Her voice was almost hysterical. I got to have a favor from you. You don't have to have anything, young lady. But first of all, who do I have the pleasure of speaking to? His voice was low and sweet. Porky! She almost screamed. This is Terry. I got some money coming tonight, Porky. Porky, are you listening? She asked frantically. Yes, dear Terry. But I'm not interested in anything you might have tonight. Money, honey, that's the new magic word in the 70s. Ain't you hip? He laughed uproariously. She began to plead. Listen, Porky, please. If you won't give me no credit, how about letting me bring you my winter coat? I just want to pawn it to you until I get off from work tonight. Listen, Terry, he ordered, his voice brittle. You already owe me $20, dear, so I don't think I can allow you to go any deeper in debt. Suddenly his voice became sweet again. He started to sing. It's raining outside, and I'm in the mood for love. Terry sobbed and slammed the phone down. You dirty, dirty bastard, she muttered, as she fought back the tears in the corners of her eyes. The sound of her father's snoring came to her. Her addict's mind quickly came up with another idea.